Poverty has a way of making even the brightest stars dim, but Amanda Johnson refused to let her light be extinguished. In the heart of a struggling neighborhood where dreams often withered under the weight of poverty, lived Amanda Johnson. Her family's tiny house echoed with the familiar sounds of her father's drunken rage and her mother Stella's quiet sobs. Despite their circumstances, Stella remained a beacon of resilience, working tirelessly to keep her 7 children fed and sheltered. Amanda, their eldest daughter, carried wisdom beyond her 9 years. Her intelligence sparkled in her eyes, matching the determination in her step as she navigated the dusty streets with a basket of oranges balanced on her head. The cruel irony of her situation wasn't lost on anyone who knew her. Here was a child who consistently topped her class, forced to abandon her education in primary 4 because they couldn't afford the fees. But fate had other plans, arriving in the form of David and Joy Thompson. The wealthy couple lived in a mansion that Amanda passed daily during her orange selling rounds. At first, they were just another potential sale, but something about the young girl's sharp mind and unwavering spirit caught their attention. "Tell me, child," Joy would ask, her eyes twinkling with genuine interest, "how do you remember all your customers' preferences so perfectly?" Amanda would smile, adjusting her basket with practiced ease. "It's like solving a puzzle, ma'am. Each person has their special pattern. Mr. Roberts likes the sweetest ones, while Mrs. Chen prefers them slightly tart." Day after day, David and Joy found themselves looking forward to these interactions. They saw in Amanda what her circumstances threatened to dim, a brilliant mind yearning for knowledge. The contrast between her potential and her reality became increasingly stark to them. Here was a child who could recite entire passages from borrowed textbooks, reduced to counting change from orange sales. The couple's own story added another layer to their growing connection with Amanda. Their magnificent house, filled with every luxury imaginable, felt hollow without the patter of little feet. They had everything money could buy, except the one thing they desperately wanted: a child to love and nurture. As they watched Amanda's daily struggle to balance her innate love for learning with the harsh demands of survival, something shifted in their hearts. Perhaps it wasn't mere coincidence that brought this extraordinary child to their doorstep. With each passing day, the idea that had taken root in their minds grew stronger. They could be the bridge between Amanda and her dreams. The day David and Joy arrived at Amanda's doorstep changed everything. They stood in the modest living room, their designer clothes a stark contrast to the worn furniture, and presented their offer to support Amanda's education. Stella's eyes lit up with hope, but Mr. Johnson saw only opportunity. "Well," he drawled, leaning forward in his chair with a calculating gleam in his bloodshot eyes, "if Amanda's going to live with you, we'll need compensation for losing her help around here." The words hung heavy in the air, making Stella cringe with embarrassment. David and Joy exchanged knowing glances. They'd anticipated this. The desperation of poverty often bred such demands. "Our intention is solely to help Amanda reach her potential," David stated firmly, his tone brooking no argument. "We'll provide everything she needs for her education and well-being." The transformation in Amanda's life was swift and dramatic. One moment she was packing her meager belongings in a small cloth bag, the next she was standing in the foyer of the Thompsons' mansion, her eyes wide with wonder at the crystal chandelier overhead. The marble floors gleamed beneath her worn sandals, and for the first time in her life she felt out of place, not because she had too little, but because she was surrounded by too much. Joy guided her through the house with gentle patience, explaining the routines and introducing her to the staff. "This is your room," she said, opening a door to reveal a space larger than Amanda's entire former home. The bed was piled high with pillows, and a desk by the window held brand new school supplies. Within days, Amanda found herself wearing a crisp uniform of the city's most prestigious school. The other students moved through the hallways with the easy confidence of those born into privilege, their designer bags casually slung over their shoulders. Amanda clutched her new backpack tighter, feeling the weight of opportunity and expectation. But she was no stranger to hard work. The same determination that had helped her sell oranges now drove her to excel in her studies. Her teachers quickly noticed her sharp mind and eager participation. While some classmates whispered about her background, Amanda's intelligence and genuine warmth won over both teachers and peers. Meanwhile, at home, David and Joy watched their house transform from a beautiful but empty shell into a home filled with laughter and purpose. The sound of Amanda practicing piano or reciting her lessons echoed through the halls, replacing the hollow silence that had haunted them for so long. As weeks turned into months, Amanda's transformation was nothing short of remarkable. The timid girl who once hesitated at the mansion's threshold now moved through its halls with graceful confidence. Her morning routine, once centered around preparing to sell oranges, now involved a uniformed maid laying out her press school uniform and a chef preparing her favorite breakfast. In the classroom, Amanda's natural intelligence flourished under proper nurturing. Her hand was often the first to rise, her answers delivered with growing assurance. Teachers who had initially viewed her as a charity case now held her up as an example to her privileged peers. Amanda's essay on economic inequality, her literature teacher announced one day, shows remarkable insight and personal perspective that many of you could learn from. But it was at home where the most profound changes occurred. The formal Mr. and Mrs. Thompson gradually gave way to more affectionate terms. Joy noticed how Amanda would linger in the kitchen while she baked, just as she had dreamed a daughter would. David found himself helping with mathematics homework, beaming with pride when Amanda grasped complex concepts quickly. They developed their own little traditions, Sunday brunches where they shared stories and dreams, evening walks in the garden where Amanda learned the names of exotic flowers, and weekend trips to bookstores where she was encouraged to choose whatever caught her interest. The library, once Joy's quiet refuge, became Amanda's favorite spot, its shelves holding worlds she had only dreamed of exploring. The servants, who had initially been uncertain about this unusual addition to the household, grew to adore Amanda's presence. Unlike many wealthy children they had served, she never took their work for granted, always offering a kind word or smile. Miss Amanda, the head maid, once remarked to Joy, has the manners of a princess but the heart of a saint. Yet beneath the perfect surface, Amanda carried a secret weight. Each night, as she lay in her luxurious bed, thoughts of her biological family crept in. The contrast between her two lives grew sharper with each passing day. While she thrived in comfort, her siblings still struggled in poverty. These moments of guilt were her private battles, fought in the silence of her room, even as she continued to shine in the daylight hours. The threats began subtly at first, late-night phone calls, veiled implications about exposing some imagined scandal. Mr. Johnson, fueled by alcohol and greed, had turned Amanda's opportunity into a weapon. "You took our daughter because you couldn't have your own," he would slur into the phone, each call more venomous than the last. "You'll pay for that." David and Joy weathered the initial storms, but as weeks passed, the threats escalated. They found their social circles whispering about stolen children and exploitation. The final straw came when Mr. Johnson appeared at their corporate events, creating scenes that threatened not just their peace, but their professional reputations. One evening, after another threatening call, David and Joy sat in their dimly lit study, the weight of their decision heavy in the air. "We can't keep living like this," David said, his voice cracking. "It's not fair to Amanda." Joy nodded through her tears, knowing they had to let go of the child who had filled their home with so much joy. The next day, while Amanda was at school, Joy went to the market. She moved from store to store with purpose, filling her basket with everything she could think of: new notebooks, colored pens, Amanda's favorite snacks, and clothes. Each item was chosen with careful thought, a physical manifestation of the love she couldn't express in words. The vendors watched curiously as the wealthy woman, who usually sent servants to shop, wept quietly while selecting hair ribbons. The farewell was orchestrated carefully, but nothing could prepare them for the reality. Amanda stood in her room, no longer hers after today, surrounded by packed bags and tearful servants. When Joy tried to explain, Amanda's quiet "I understand" broke something in all of them. She had grown too wise too young, understanding the adult complexities that were forcing this separation. Stella arrived to collect her daughter, her own eyes brimming with grateful tears. As Amanda walked down the mansion steps for the last time, the staff lined up to bid her goodbye. The head maid pressed a small package into her hands, collected tokens from everyone who had grown to love her. The sound of car doors closing echoed with finality, marking the end of a brief but beautiful chapter in all their lives. The return to poverty hit Amanda like a physical blow. Her first morning back, she stared at the meager porridge that replaced her customary fresh fruits and pancakes, each spoonful a reminder of her changed circumstances. The cramped room she now shared with 3 siblings felt suffocating after her spacious bedroom at the Thompsons'. Her father's presence loomed larger than ever, his bitter triumph evident in every glance he cast her way. He had won his petty victory, driving away the people who threatened his control, but the cost was written in his daughter's hollow eyes. The expensive gifts Joy had brought sat untouched in Amanda's bags. Wearing them felt like reopening a wound still too fresh to heal. At school, Amanda maintained her academic excellence, but the strain showed. Her classmates whispered about her sudden change of address, her return to taking public transport instead of the Thompsons' chauffeur-driven car. Yet she held her head high, channeling her pain into determination. David and Joy still paid her fees, a lifeline to the future she refused to surrender. The growing tension between Amanda and her father filled their small house like smoke, choking every interaction. During his drunken episodes, he would taunt her about her fancy education and rich pretensions. Stella watched helplessly as the gulf between father and daughter widened, knowing any intervention would only provoke his rage. Late at night, Amanda would often slip out to their tiny backyard, looking up at the stars visible between the shanty roofs. The same stars she used to watch from the Thompsons' manicured garden now witnessed her silent tears. The question hung in the air: would she break under the weight of her circumstances, or would this crucible forge her into something stronger? Time moved forward, leaving Amanda balanced precariously between 2 worlds: the luxury she had tasted and the hardship she had returned to. Her father's drinking worsened, her mother's health declined, and her siblings looked to her with increasing desperation. Yet beneath it all, a plan was forming in Amanda's mind, one that would determine not just her fate, but her entire family's future.